strangest thing. When I was in school, people would give me 100,000 dates, right? And I'd be trying to memorize the dates instead of memorizing the actual stuff that was important about it, right? Certain dates are important. Historic dates, they're important. But the time frame of people, not the life of someone, the day and the month, to me is irrelevant. Okay. And then you'll learn that about me as a person. My debaters will tell you, when you're trying to remember what's happened in a particular year, I'll look at you and say, well, who was my top team then? What was the debate topic? And then I have a rough idea of the year. I don't even do it by date. Okay? So you won't get dates. To me, I think that's good. For those of you that love dates, I guess look them up later and put them. But I don't know about you all, but I don't really care for them all that much. Second. Go ahead. Alright, second thing I want you to know about this is that in philosophy, there isn't any particular time frame. I will give you a rough period of time that things have occurred, waves, when things started to appear in philosophy, but there is no clear cut, right? This period happened, then this period happened. This period happened, then this period happened. Okay, it overlaps. Philosophy comes in waves, right? Sometimes things that they did 100 years ago come back in, all right? So philosophy ebbs and flows. The other thing I want to tell you is that anytime someone gives you a philosophy lecture, it should leave you with more questions than answers. Okay. If you're really true to philosophy, you understand that you don't know really what capital T truth is. Okay. So I give you this information without putting any sort of judgment on it. I'm just giving you some general information. Okay, I don't pretend to know what the correct philosophical trend is. Okay. I'm just going to give you the information. You should get a little snippet of information here and decide that you want to learn more about it. Okay. So it's going to be snippets of information. Okay, no, we're not going to focus on one. We might get a little kind of empowered because I think that's close. Okay. All right. I'm putting names up here in time frames so you know how to spell them. Not because that's the only thing you should write down. Okay. It always drives me crazy when I do these lectures and people just write down the very first thing you put out there. So, let's talk about philosophy. Let's get to the task. See how fast I can get it done in the time frame we have. I tend to read. So, anybody know what philosophy means?
It's a way of weighing values.
Yeah. The technical term is the love of knowledge. The love of knowledge. And the seeking of truth. Notice what I have done. I've capitalized T truth. Okay? Because for these philosophers, there's a difference between lowercase truth and big case truth. Your truth would be lowercase t, because it's not necessarily what I believe. My belief, for me, is capital T truth. Right? So for each of these philosophers, they have discovered something about the way the world is, and they've come to believe it. It's their capital T truth. And all of them will say that they've found the way, right? They've built upon each other. So to them, they have all found capital T truth. I think they all have some pretty cool ideas. I don't know if it's capital T truth. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the different rough time periods. Philosophy really starts to pop up in ancient Greece. In Athens. It really gets popular with Socrates, but this period right here, the pre-Socratic period, is really interesting. This is when you get people like Cicero. Okay. Sophists is what they call themselves. S-O-P-H-I-S-T-S. Sophists were these people. They were teachers that people in Athens who wanted to be strong and powerful would hire to teach them how to be powerful and persuasive. To them, capital T truth was getting the money. Being influential in Greece. And how do they do that? You do that by being a powerful speaker, by being persuasive, by carrying yourself with a certain air. Okay. Some people would say, somebody like me, right? I'm a sophist. I stand before you, very powerful and persuasive, at least I think I'm powerful. And I teach a bunch of other people how to do the same thing, right? You should think of it that way. And so their focus was just to help their students gain power. This group of guys comes along. We move into the Socratic period. I like SPA. If you can't remember what that period is, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Okay, this is a line of teacher to student. Okay. Socrates comes along, and he says, what these sophists are doing is morally bankrupt. There's no truth in that. They're just trying to teach them for the sake of making a buck. They're not trying to teach them anything of value. Right? Public speaking and the ability to persuade someone for naught, he says, is not a good thing. Okay. But instead, there should be some sort of greater truth to what you're doing. He believed in the Socratic method, the basis for what we do today in debate. And most of our government. I'm sure you've heard the term Socratic method. How many people have heard that? Okay. I'll give you an example. Christian, stand up. You exist?
Yes.
How do you know?
Because I'm here.
What does here mean?
This vicinity.
What's this vicinity?
A building.
Does this building exist?
Yes.
Where's the building? I mean, where are locations to the universe?
Where's
Where's
Mason?
George Mason?
Fairfax, Virginia.
Where's Fairfax, Virginia?
In Virginia.
Where's Virginia?
In the United States.
Where's the United States?
In America.
Where's America?
A continent.
A continent.
North America.
Okay? On where?
Earth.
So what is Earth?
A planet.
Are you sure we're here?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because
Because why?
I believe.
Do you feel your feet on the ground? How do you know that's you feeling it? Instead, it's not something you just simulated in your mind.
I believe that I'm reality, so trust.
Okay. That is what Socrates believed. He would sit down with his students and they would just talk this way. I think the answers would be a little bit longer than Socrates. Okay. And so they would just reason in that way, a series of questions, a series of debates, if you will. Socrates was killed by the Republic. You've probably seen this painting really, it's famous, right? Of him saying his last word because they make him drink poison. Very, very dramatic. I don't think it probably went down that way. The time that Socrates starts teaching is very volatile. Okay. There are lots of changes in power going on in the Greek world. There's a strong influence, right, in the belief of I've got this little tiny number. Right, there's a strong influence of gods. Notice, I have a lowercase g and an s, right? Because there were all kinds of different gods, right? You pray to all the different ones. They're all strong, influential, and lots of people are developing different gods at the time. Okay, so it's really volatile, where you believe that all these, you pray to a statue, and that was supposed to bring you peace or health or children. And so when he starts talking, he starts saying some things like questioning the different government regimes. Starts to question the concepts of God. It's not very popular, so they kill him. His student is Plato. Plato takes teaching from Socrates and goes in a sort of a different direction, in that he concerns himself with the ethics of power, right? He watches his teacher, his friend, executed, essentially, and so he gets concerned with the ethics of power. He writes this piece called The Republic. The Republic. And it's all about what would make the ideal government form. This is pretty far back. The United States considers themselves what?
Yeah.
No. A republic, thank you, Monica. Right. A lot of the basis for our government comes from these ideas by Plato, ancient Greece, which is, to me, fascinating. Okay. He talks about what would be the ideal government, which would be equal representation in the law and the government. That no power exists with just one person. Ideally, everybody would get a say and a vote. You would make decisions together. Understand something about his time, right? It wasn't the United States continent. It was his neck of the woods, and so he's kind of thinking that all the different neck of the woods, if you will, the different sections of the world where people would live, would control their government together and make decisions together because it's a little bit smaller. Plato's student is Aristotle. That's why I call them Spa. Aristotle takes Plato's ideas of power to a little bit larger scale. So Plato has his ideas of power pretty much based on government. Makes sense given what he's seen. Aristotle says the power exists in sort of a larger scale than just the government to its people. The power exists everywhere, okay, amongst smaller communities than that, amongst individuals. Whereas Plato was concerned that power not sort of localized with one or two individuals because he thinks that was bad. Aristotle says power really isn't in being totally strong or being totally weak. Right? That's what most people think about power. The really strong person controls the really weak person. True? Right. Aristotle says, no, it's not that large of a dichotomy, but really power exists somewhere in the middle. That people have shared power, right? So, you've seen this at play. There's a thin line between my power and yours. Right now you all sit here. Why? Hope you're still taking notes. That's something different.
Because we have a kind of power.
Right. I'm the teacher in this moment, and so you know you're going to sit there. That line there, it's not that I'm some big benevolent dictator. Some people might say that I am. But rather, I have something to tell you, and you want to hear what it is I have to say. It's a very thin line there. And ultimately, what can I do if you all stood up and walked out? Nothing. I'd probably just go back to the dorm and go to sleep. Yeah, I'm tired. Alright, so that's the Greek period. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the medieval period. Look, you go through this period here, where there's lots of sort of changes in government. There's a fight for leaders to maintain power. And now you move to the medieval period. They still want to maintain power, right? Understand that a lot of this philosophy comes from a person in power kind of pushing that person to write about how they're maintaining power. So the medieval period, they maintain power by using the church. The medieval period, they use God as a way to control people. In this time frame, I'm talking about capital G God. Okay, it tends to be the God. Right? They say things like, if you don't do what they want you to do, then you're sinning. You're going to go to hell. And they make hell sound pretty bad. The way they make it sound, you probably won't want to end up there. Hungry all the time, thirsty, burning, constantly burning. Not bad. So they control you in that way. They also use the church as a way to sort of control women, right? Women should be chaste and quiet. That's what God says you should do. Women are supposed to be virtuous. They sure wouldn't do what I do now. I should be home with my boys. And they use God as their excuse to do that. That goes on for a while until we get to humanism. What's the root word? Human. Right? So they say back on the sort of church and God concept. Power doesn't lie with God. Power lies with humans. That people influence the direction of power and thought. One of the more famous philosophers during this time is Thomas More. Thomas More. And he writes this work called Utopia. In this work, he says it's possible for all people to live in harmony, where all of their needs are met, without one person standing over another, right? So it's not that your most basic needs are just met while somebody else has, living the high life, someone, feeding them grapes and airing them with grape leaves. But instead, everybody sort of has things equally. Everybody's equally comfortable. So we should strive for utopia. This is where that term comes from. People have heard the word utopia, right? It's not on a bottle of beverage. Snapple has a thing called utopia. So it's possible for everyone to work together. So this more kind of changes the direction of philosophy a little bit, because now they're concerned with, kind of changes, how is it that we work towards utopia? What is it that we need to do? Okay. A bunch of philosophers come along, talk about ways they think that can happen. The next way that's pretty popular is British empiricism. No, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. Next should be continental rationalism. I know it's spell check. It works. Alright, so I was thinking, I'm like, we didn't go into British empiricism. So humanism, right? Humans control power. Then you go to continental rationalism, which people say people are rational. People are capable. We have a mind. We can use deductive reasoning. And we can use that mind to do either good or bad things. Right? You can reason with someone else because they have a mind for reason. And so you can reason with them to do something that's positive, or you can reason with them to do something that's more negative. What becomes popular next is British empiricism. We've got the Brit part of this for a moment. What's the root word of empiricism? What is it? Okay. So the idea is, with British empiricism, that the way we come to know things, the truths we have about the world, are influenced by our experiences, which you note is important. These people start to pop up as who starts forming their empires. The British, right? The direction that we take in life, what we do in life, is influenced by our experiences in life. And so, what sort of happens is you are a reflection of the circumstances that you're in. So, if you're a part of the royal courts, and with the Queen at the time, probably going to understand that. Where you're going to be if you continue to live that life. If you are a servant, right, and your children grow up, you're probably going to stay in a similar type of environment. So your truths, which you would come to understand as being truth, is influenced by what you experienced at that time. Can you see why the person who is part of the Queen's inner circle, what they think would be different than the person who served them? So it's based on experience. Some big authors during this time. David Hume. He believes in critiques of cause, right? He studies what causes things to be. Hume. I'm right here. Can you see that? You're being blocked?
It's kind of like, I think it's from the projector screen that's a little blurry from here. Because I can...
Do we know how to fix that?
I do not. That was really cool. Oh yeah. No.
See if that helps, but see if you can still take notes. Yeah, if you can't see, speak up. I don't see what you
Dark
see.
people.
Is that better?
It's good.
Can you see to take notes?
Yeah. Are you sure?
Yeah.
If there's someone who can't see to take notes, raise your hand. We won't care. Like,
You should increase the zoom on it. On the bottom right.
Yeah, for the word though.
is that better for you?
That's much better.
Yeah, okay, I see now.
You good?
I can't make out the words.
Did you see it beforehand? Yeah. Has this been going on the whole time?
Yeah.
Hello? How would I know that? Gosh. Hello? Tell us these things. That's true, they are just words. These lights back on, we can relate it.
Can you please zoom in a little bit?
You increase the size.
No. People, speak up. God, I'm gonna have you. Huh?
Get markers?
I've got some.
Oh, never mind.
I'm just gonna have you write them out. Well, I have a lead. Oh, no. Zing!